A more detailed list of what FBI agents seized from Mar-A-Lago will soon be made public. That was the decision today from a federal judge in Florida. The Justice Department and former President Trump's legal team battling it out in court today over the stash of classified documents taken from Mr. Trump's private club and home in Palm Beach. Mr. Trump's lawyers are asking the Trump-appointed judge to appoint a so-called special master to go through all the documents to decide whether any of them are privileged and therefore off limits to investigators. The judge says she will issue a written ruling on that, but didn't say when. The Justice Department argued that the appointment of a special master would be unprecedented, inappropriate, and delay their investigation into Mr. Trump's possession of highly sensitive documents that may have put national security at risk. The DOJ argues that these documents do not belong to the former president. An evidence photo of documents found in Mr. Trump's office show top secret and secret SCI markings. Those are the highest levels of classification possible. It means they are related to some of America's most closely guarded secrets and intelligence operations. But in court, Mr. Trump's lawyer compared the whole situation to an overdue library book scenario. On a radio show today, Mr. Trump seemingly admitted that he kept those documents in his office.
Everything's neat. You know, I'm a very neat person. Everything's clean. Everything's buttoned up. And they took documents and they put them all over the floor. And then everything's neat. You know, I'm a very neat person. Everything's clean. Everything's buttoned up. And they took documents and they put them all over the floor. And then they deceptively put out that picture. And a lot of people think that when you walk into my office, I have confidential documents or whatever it may be, all declassified. But I have confidential documents spread out all over my floor and like a slob.
Mr. Trump continues to insist that all of the documents found at Mar-A-Lago were declassified because he had the power to declassify anything he wanted while he was president. Notably, his lawyers have not made that argument in court. Let's bring in Rebecca Roiphe, former assistant district attorney in the Manhattan DA's office, now a professor at the New York Law School. Rebecca, is the president's argument about declassifying all these documents basically moot now, since his legal team didn't bring it up in court? It really didn't come up at all.
So, I think mootness is almost, it's almost an understatement. He could have brought this up at many different moments, and DOJ's filing makes that point, that the National Archives made several requests, and he never suggested that these documents were declassified. Then there was a subpoena. He never moved to quash that subpoena based on the argument that these were declassified documents that belonged to him. So it's like the ship has sailed in this particular regard, I think.
So let me ask you, there are those who are supporters of President Trump who are highly suspicious of the Justice Department and its motives. So what is the real risk or danger of appointing a special master to review these documents to see whether they are in any sense privileged? What would the risk be from doing that if, among other things, it gives those people who are suspect of the Justice Department a little more confidence that the process is fair?
So I imagine if the judge is taking this request seriously, that's weighing on her mind, and that she is thinking, what would be the harm if I were to allow this to happen, if it gives more credibility to the government's actions here? I think it would create some degree of delay, but as the Department of Justice has said, it has already gone through these documents extensively. So it's not clear that, it will really slow down any criminal investigation. And presumably the national security arm has already looked through these documents and has begun a risk assessment that would not necessarily be halted. I think the real problem here is, we don't really have a legal system that is there to send messages to people. We have a legal system that's there to, follow set procedures and rules. And I do think it is a little bit odd that this request is so out there and would then subsequently be granted. There's also this question of whether there be any credibility to this notion that there was executive privilege documents there.
Final quick question. The judge says she's going to release a more detailed list of what was recovered from Mar-A-Lago. Is that unusual, and what might we be likely to see?
It's not always unusual in a situation in which you have a judicial proceeding, but yes, everything's going out of order in this case. And I think we might see in a little bit more of a detailed way what's in those documents, which is key to a determination of whether or not a criminal prosecution would be warranted in a situation like this.
Professor Roiphe, thank you very much for your insights tonight. We appreciate it.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.